Well, you don't hear what I don't, because my side.
All right. This is Buddha. We are going to talk about starting a club. My name is Patty Greene. I am the moderator. This is the 2015 CALLERLAB convention. My panelist is Scott Bennett from Oklahoma. And we're going to, I'm going to start, Scott will finish, and then we're going to open it up to the floor. So, Buddha. So, I recently, in the past few years, started a new club. How many people, first of all, how many people have a fairly new club that they've started? And how many people are thinking about starting a club? It's a thought. Well, thinking. The first step is thinking. So that's good. So I figured, I thought I would tell you about what my experience has been with starting my club. I tend to not go by the rules, not in a bad way, but I had a dancer approach me from the next town over, and he had some people who wanted to start a club because they didn't want to travel. They wanted to have something closer to home. That's basically how this dancer thought he would start something. So he approached me because he knew I was local and he liked me and he knew that I would work, we could work together. And he had, I think he had a square of dancers who wanted to dance, and it was at their church, and they had a bunch of people that wanted to give it a try because they had been kind of talking about it. Some were family members and some were group members, and they just thought it would be really cool. So we could get at the church. We had a free hall, which a lot of times that's half the battle is where and how much are you willing to spend. So our hall is free. The problem is we can only get it on one night. So we took a look at the calendar. The first thing I'll say, if you're going to start a club, there's two schools of thought. The first is don't pay any attention to what's going on in the outside world, just do what you need to do. I kind of believe that, but I also think that if you're in an area, it is considerate, thoughtful, and a little less in your face if you look at what's going on in your area, within whatever the range is of people that might travel to you, and see what's happening when. So if you want to start a new group and you know I'm in Scott's area, I'm never going to tap this dancer, he dances on Monday nights, I'm probably not going to pick Monday night because there's a chance that we could work together at some point in time, so I'm going to look around. So we looked around, and the only night that was free was Tuesday. There was another group that met on Tuesday night, but I knew for sure that that group would never come to our club. I mean, it was a plus group. We were starting a mainstream club. I knew that it was safe, and it was the safest night. Monday night there was another class going on. Wednesday night's bad in our area. Thursday night there was a class going on. Friday night there's a class going on. I'm not doing it on Sunday. I don't want to do it on Saturday because people have lives. So we picked Tuesday. We could only get the hall for one night. So what we did is we decided this is our club structure. So the first, third, and fifth, from 6:30 to 8, we have class and new dancers. From 8 to 9:30, depending on how tired everybody is, we have plus, because they wanted to dance some plus. On the second and fourth, from 6:30 to 7:30, we have new dancers. And then from 7:30 to 9:30, depending on how tired everybody is, we have our club dance. So the organizer had a bunch of people. Our first class, I think we had 2 squares of new dancers. We had another square of angels who just were happy to be dancing in our area. We've been going for, I think, 3 years now, maybe 4, which is that's a new group as far as I'm concerned. We're still in the building stage. What's happened is a couple of things that happened that I didn't really expect. So, first of all, we don't start classes in September. Because if you start in September, you get going in October, and then November is Thanksgiving, so you take November off. We dance at a church, and people attend church, and people go away for the holidays, so you take off most of December. Weather, well now that's like a month and a half. You start up after the first of the year, and I've lost half the people. So we start in January. because we have from January to April with a fairly consistent no night off because of things going on. They're hooked by then. You know, they haven't been dancing for a month, so it's a habit. So that's worked really well for us. We tend to keep our fun nights open longer than necessary. This cycle, we had the first night we had a single woman who was picking stuff up so fast it was hysterical. The next week we had another single woman join, and the other single woman wasn't there. So we had another first night. The third night we had another single woman join, and the first one came back, so we started again. And then we got a little bit of attraction, and then last week we had a family come. I'm not turning away a family and a couple. So we started again. But it's okay because we have a whole square of new dancers that I think are going to stay. And so we tend to be kind of sometimes a little bit more lenient with starting and starting over. We really focus on fellowship. So the best side effect of having class and club on the same night is once our new dancers have enough calls so that it feels like square dancing to our experienced dancers, which when I teach is after the first night. They can stay for the first half hour of the club dance. Do a couple singing calls, we have a line, they can get up, eventually they get up for the pattern. What's happened is all our new dancers become part of our square dance family immediately. There's no class night, club night. There's no, oh, we gotta find angels to come out on another night and spend time with these new dancers. They're the same night. I have some brand new students. Last week we had a club dance. Some of them stayed until the end of the club dance. When we have class night at 8 o'clock, some leave because they've got things to do. Some of our students stay through the Plus workshop. They can't dance, but they're socializing and they have a snack and people are talking to them. And for us, that has really been what's kind of set us apart from some of the other clubs in the area, because we're really working on, you know, when it comes time for graduation, they're already members of our club. It felt weird to have the graduation the first time because we didn't have to introduce them to the club. So we had a crossover, you know, like scouts. I felt like doing a bridge and having them walk over, but that would be way too much. That would have been way too much work. But they would have thought it was fun. So just a couple of things, you know, look at the calendar. See what's around. What are you going to conflict against? You know, it's not like you can have 5 clubs in a city that dance on Saturday night and everybody's got 10 squares because there's that many dances in the area. You know, we've got to kind of work together. The dance location. We got lucky, we can dance at this church for free. If the church is available, we can get it on a Saturday if we want to have a workshop. It's a great wooden floor. It's a perfect size for what we do. Pastor comes over every Tuesday night. I still haven't convinced him to dance, but he's like part of our square dance family. You know, so we're kind of trying to get in that way. One group I taught for, they danced 1 week. Actually, they danced all the time in a nursing home. Now, before you say, oh, it's so bad for our activity, they danced in a nursing home. They had a beautiful wooden dance floor. Beautiful. It could hold 6 squares.
As long as you're not recruiting.
Well, we weren't recruiting, but for us it was community service because the residents came down and watched us dance. They watched our lessons every night. And we got paid $50. Because we were entertainment. They didn't care what we did. And they graduated and I gave, you know, every session, I gave carnations to our family members because they were like parents, and they didn't remember from week to week because a lot of them had Alzheimer's problems. But it was so funny because they picked somebody. So I'm going to watch you this time, and they'd be rooting for this person. They go, oh no, go the other way. They don't, you know, it was just the cutest thing, but it was kind of a community service because we were providing something. We got paid for a hall with a wooden floor. We could do whatever we wanted. I thought it was pretty cool. So what's your dress code? These are just things to think about. We're casual. We welcome square dance attire, but if you're driving through and you've been on the road for 15 hours and you feel like stopping by, we will not make a face when you walk in that door. You will be welcomed with whatever you're wearing. I think that's very important. How are you going to handle singles? You know, there's a lot of things, if you're starting a group, you have got to talk about before your first dancer comes in, so it's clear what you're going to do. We don't mind singles. Right now, we have 5 single women. One's a mother and 2 teenage daughters. Mom is dancing with one of the daughters. One of the single women found a date, which was very cute last week, and he came, and we just make it work. I also encourage my women to learn the man's part, because I don't think there's anything wrong with a woman dancing the other side. There's a handful of calls that are gender dependent. And if you're there looking for a mate, that's different. But if you're there to dance, who cares what side you dance on, so long as you're filling in a square and you're having a good time. Again, you know, when are you going to start your classes? What is for me, the big thing with my group is, you know, I was very clear up front that I wanted to go with the flow of the class. I was not going to teach to an expiration date. You know, when I was in New England, classes started in September, and you tried to graduate people by April so they could attend the New England Convention. That's just what the cycle was. It didn't matter if your class was not ready to graduate. You graduated them so they could go to the New England Convention. And I think that if I can be, as a caller, if I can be flexible, you know, people are more willing these days to come and hang out. And there's nothing worse than if Scott walks in by himself. I'll tell a true story. I had a single woman come to my class. She's going to try it out. She said she was going to come to my class. I couldn't teach that night, so I asked somebody to fill in. And the week after, I was horrified to find out that he wouldn't let her dance. This is like Square Dance 101. This isn't, you know, advanced, you got to know what you're doing. This is Square Dance 101. And she was willing to dance the boys' part. He would not let her dance the boys' part. She had to have a partner, so she didn't dance very much at all. No word of a lie. Come to find out, she belonged to a singles group, a mixed sex singles group. They were looking for things to do in the area. They had each been tasked to go on a fact-finding mission. Her job was to see, because it looked like fun and something that they could do, and you know, so she came. Her job was to come to my group. No, I was not a happy camper, and see if it would be something that she could bring back and introduce to her singles club for an activity they could do. So how many of you, show of hands, how many of you think she went back and said, this is something we should try?
No
she said,
no way.
Stay away.
Not friendly.
From that minute, you have no idea how careful I am who I select to fill in at my club. Because at any given time, somebody can walk through your doors, you don't know who they know. And you don't, she didn't tell me when she said, could I come to your class and give me information, she didn't tell me that, that she was a scout, which is smart, it's like secret shopping. And I kept telling her, oh, we'd love to have you, we welcome anybody, and you know, so I looked like an idiot because she wasn't welcome. I was horrified. But those are all things to think about when you're starting a group, because if you're going to start a group, or you have a new group, you really need to kind of set yourself apart, and you need to figure out what kind of a group you are. For me, I want to be a place where people think, it's Tuesday night, I want to go spend time with my Square Dance family. I could sit on the couch, but I know if I go there, we're going to dance, we'll have something to eat, If I haven't been there for a month, I'm welcomed with open arms. There's a huge difference between Michael walks in my door, he's been gone for a month for whatever reason. I can either say to him, where have you been? Or, I am so glad to see you, welcome back.
Right.
You're saying the same thing, but there's a huge difference in the message that you're bringing them. So, but that's how we started our club. So we're the Cane Creek Cruisers. We're growing. We're not growing, breaking any land speed records, but people come to our club. We are the home for disenfranchised dancers. We've got some square dancers who were asked by their club to please not come dance with them. That's what they told me, and they know they can come to my club, and we will welcome them, and it does not matter who they are.
How is that even happening? That's what I'm trying to understand. I've seen it.
Microphone.
State your name and your state.
Scott Brown, Pennsylvania. I've seen this happening, people being asked not to come back to their club and don't dance with them. How is this even happening? Isn't there like a USDA that you can report them to or something? I'm serious, I think you can.
I think that it's a club culture. So if you've decided that your club, it's a club culture, and it's this is the way we've always done it. I know there are a lot of clubs, and I'm not popular for saying these things, but it's the truth. There are a lot of clubs who have become very inbred, and they want people to walk in the door who are like them. And they have a certain expectation of your dancing level. So they want you to come in, and I'm sure you've all experienced it, and they want you to learn how to dance 0 to challenge in a week. And if you can't, then they really don't have any use for you. They've forgotten that, I think that we as an activity have forgotten that it used to be a social thing with some dance. Now it's a dance thing with some social. And if your club culture is the dance, that's what the absolute most important thing is, it's the dance, and you've forgotten about the social part, then I think that's where people get stuck and ask people to leave. It's very frustrating. I don't understand it. I'll be honest. I have some people that come to my club who I honestly wish they wouldn't. I'm just saying, because it's not an activity for them, and I'm not saying that in a disparaging way, but I'm not going to say no to them. I'm going to try my best to make them feel welcome.
So how do we deal with that? I mean, as callers, what's our responsibility?
Our responsibility as callers is, I think, aside from learning how to call and learning how to teach and learning how to be patient, our responsibility as leaders in the activity is to model good behavior. I know that sounds trite, but I try very hard to, and I've had my dancers tell me, we come here because we know that you're going to take care of us. And that's a conscious effort on my part to be aware of what's going on, to make sure that people feel welcome. If I see somebody come in, if you walked in and you were sitting by the corner, I'm not going to know everything that goes on, but nobody's really talked to you, I will quietly go over to somebody and say, hey, I might not know your name, there's a person in blue, I don't think I've ever seen her before, let's make sure that, and my club, they'll come talk to you. They'll find out who you are, what you do, what's your family, where are you from, do you square dance, do you want to try square dancing? But I've taught them that. I've facilitated that for my group. But let's get Scott to do some talking.
Nice hand for the incomparable Patty Greene.
Everybody wait for the microphone. Turn around, wait for the camera.
So, you know what, when they asked me to do this panel, the first thing I thought was, I don't know anything about this. I've not really been involved in starting a new group and making that kind of thing happen. However, I've been in activity for a long time. So I thought to myself, I said, self, what would you do? So I sat down and made myself some bullet points. made some talking points, things that I think that would be important to me. Can you guys hear me? Okay. So anyway, the first thing I thought, who's in charge? You know, Patty took the love way of looking at things, because that's Patty. That's why they pair us up together, because she's sweet and I'm sour. I think from business things, I think I need to know who's in charge. I need to know what's going on. That's the way I think about things. I don't want to walk in and not know. Make sense? So the first thing I want to know, am I in charge? Is it a CALLERLAB club? Am I in charge of running things? The next thing, there might be a board. Perhaps you're going to have a club with a board. You need to get those things straight so that you know who's in charge. If the board's in charge, be aware. Be aware that, you know, they may decide tomorrow they don't want you anymore. We've had things like that happen. You know, and if you're not clear in the beginning, I think that's a pretty good point. So I started with that. The next thing I looked at was, what level of dance? What am I going to call? Am I calling mainstream, basic? That'd be what I'd pick, probably even basic, club level 50, something like that. Get them in, get them dancing, and get them going. That's the way I would look at it, if I were starting a club. Perhaps maybe you want a new challenge, but you need to be aware, what is it that you're doing? Get that straight. Format, are you going to have lines, rounds, two-stepping? I don't know. Swing dancing? I'm good with whatever. Then the next thing I think about is, where am I going to dance? Patty touched on some things like that. I think about the location of the venue. Where is it that I'm going to dance? Is it a bad part of town? Is it a decent part of town? Look at the parking. Think about things like that you may not even think about. We had a place in Oklahoma City that we used to dance, and it was just horrible. It was a great hall, but they had horrible parking, and they didn't have good lighting. People were afraid to leave their cars and go back to their cars at night. Does that kind of make sense a little bit? So things like that. I look at the size. Perhaps I'm going to have how shall I say this? A 2-square dance in a 10-square hall. Heard somebody call that, you know, like what is it, a BB in a boxcar. You know, that kind of feeling. You know, you want a more intimate setting if you're going to have a smaller group. If you're going to have a larger group, you've got to make sure you have a hall that'll fit them. You may not know that right at first. Let's see, cooling. Boy, we talked about cooling when this thing, all this thing started. If you can't keep the temperature right, you're not going to make people happy. You know, I'm hot nature.
You are.
You're just hot. So then we move on, you know, cooling, you gotta be able to keep the place cool, you gotta be able to make that, when people are moving and dancing and talking, I'm up there coughing and blowing all that hot air. I mean, we gotta be sure it's cool. Acoustics. I mean, if you don't think about acoustics, you shoot yourself in the foot. Because the very first thing is you gotta be heard. They can't dance if they can't hear you. And I tell you, I've been in some reverberant halls. They were just so horrible, they should have never picked that place. You know, it was just way too bad. The next thing I think about is the floor. This would be an awesome place to have a square dance. This floor is, well, I forgot to tell you, I'm a little sarcastic. A lot of people don't catch that. But this floor covering here would not be good for square dancing. I wouldn't pick this. This would be something I'd go after. I'd be looking for something that you could actually move your feet to. Make sense a little? No, you don't want to do that. Price. You spoke about price. She was able to get all for free. In fact, they even paid him to come dance. What a deal that would be. And I know areas are getting more and more expensive. There was a place I was talking to the other night, and it was about a 12-square hall. They were paying $300 a time to dance. I can't imagine that they could ever make any money.
Break even.
They can't even break even. Just ridiculous. And then the last big bullet point that I have for you is, where am I going to get people? I got to get people. If this is a brand new thing in a brand new location, I don't have anybody. I got to start from something. And the first thing I think of is dance parties. Whatever we're calling those now. We used to call them one-night stands, didn't we?
Yes.
Yeah, it's not good. It sounds like something else.
Dance party.
Dance parties. Dance parties. So you go have dance parties, and you get people excited and enthusiastic. You go to the churches and in different places like that. And you go do this real robust thing that makes them just go, wow. And then you get them in some kind of, hopefully a short class, and get them dancing. Something like Patty was talking about, where you incorporate them quickly. Because as soon as they get to that feeling of family and being part of the thing, the quicker they're gonna stick. They're gonna be part of your thing. Advertising of some sort. out doing demos. I can't tell you in my experience in square dancing, when I first got into the square dance activity, we did demos every single weekend. Every single weekend, I assure you, I was calling somewhere. And I was a new caller. I started calling at 17, and I was a new caller, and everywhere I went, every weekend, I was calling a demo somewhere. Some party, something, the bank was having an open, you know, or somebody's little town had a fair or whatever, we square danced demo everywhere. We had a lot of people. Now, I'm not saying those two things necessarily go together, but I guarantee you most places aren't probably doing demos like they used to, and our numbers are definitely down. If they don't know we're out there, how are they ever going to come see you? Make a little sense? So anyway, demos, I kind of have a personal feeling about demos. I think that we should be targeting a particular group. We should be after a particular age group that we need to get to come in. We should be targeting them, perhaps the music that we use. Patty talked about clothing. Perhaps we need to have a mix of that clothing, so traditional. Some ladies in long skirts, maybe some ladies in slacks. That mix, so that they can see maybe everybody's welcome. So anyway, we're getting closer to being through, and then me and Patty will do a little dance for you.
Sweet.
Some other things to consider, maybe like ABC program, or CDP, a community dance program. Meetup, somebody mentioned Meetup to me before, and I thought, wow, that's kind of a neat idea. You could use Meetup, you can send some information around that so that people can use social media of some kind, you know, to get people involved, to get them to know what you got going on. They can't come check it out if they don't know. And the last bullet point thing that I had on here was I said, steal them. And then I put that strip through, you know. Because I'm saying that sarcastically, you don't want to just go out and steal people, but that's what winds up happening. People start a new group and they go out and they say, hey, Haraway, come to my club, you know, come over here, Mike, come on, Patty, come dance with me. We get to have to stealing people instead of going out and getting new people.
That's something that I have to be careful of because I found that we're getting a lot of people who graduated from other classes that come to my club and they join our club. And I try very hard to say it's okay to belong to a couple of clubs because I've seen groups in our area get decimated by new groups. They just quietly took people away. And that's not, I don't think that's right. I mean, the dancer's going to vote with their feet. Dancers are going to vote with their feet. They're going to go where they're comfortable, and they're going to go where they're happy. If my dancers are leaving, I need to look at what I'm doing. Because I'm the one at the microphone, and I'm the one, even though the board members are driving the bus maybe, the person at the microphone is the one that sets the tone. So if my dancers are leaving, if Scott's walking out the door and he's never going to come back to my club again, ever, I need to figure out whether it's publicly or privately, what am I doing that's causing people to leave and not causing them to stay and adjust. Anyways, does anybody have any particular questions about starting a group, or how can we best help you? We've kind of given you
experiences.
We've probably given you some food for thought, but how can we best help you? Because it's kind of that's what we're here for. We're here to help you.
Dennis Clark, Indianapolis, Indiana, but that's loud. I started mine about 2 years ago based on a club folding that I was the club caller for, and leadership just didn't want to lead anymore. They were worn out. And I wanted to provide them a place to dance, so I started mine on going through growing pains like you are with yours. And been blessed with being able to have inexpensive places to dance. So, one of my problems is what I do, because I want to keep that social aspect with it. But I want it to be a dance also. What do you do on the side of refreshments, drinks, things like that? Because I am finding that to be more and more expense on my side to keep that part of it running, because I've got a very small membership base who are also trying to do that, and it becomes more and more expense for them.
What we wanted to do is, we wanted to take away the pain and hardship of actually being a member of the club and having to go to dinner every night. So we provide water, there's a coffee, and we're at a church, there's a coffee pot. We provide some soft drinks, just cans. We have minimal snacks most of the times, because it's, you know, some pretzels or a cookie or grapes or something, just because that's just considerate. I don't want somebody to have a diabetic attack and need a piece of food and not have a cracker there. On special dances, we ask people to bring whatever they want. It's not, we don't require. And our snacks are open all night. You know, we do not shut down in the middle of a dance, have a dinner break, and then not be able to get anybody else up. So that's one thing that we do. The other thing is, you know, we really encourage people talking. You know, we're real good about talking to people.
May I do a follow-up on that?
I was just going to make, Sue White, I'm from Arkansas. I was going to make a comment about bringing food. We have a CALLERLAB club, and in our Welcome to Diamond Squares, it says that we provide water, coffee, and tea, and that dancers are welcome to bring snacks if they like. Food always shows up. And I did have a question for Patty. Somebody was talking about how is the club going to be organized. How is your club run? Who runs your club? Is it a CALLERLAB club? Do you have a board run club? Is it?
I was going to say something smart, but you know, this is being recorded. We have a board. And I just have one comment about a board. I belong to a club. I called for a club that had a big board, because that's the way it was always done. They were going to fold. They didn't have very many people. Nobody wanted to take office. There was probably 30 people in the club, which was a good amount for them. And they were struggling with getting board members. Well, what do you need? If you're just starting out, what do you need for a board? You need a president. You need a treasurer. And it's good to have a social secretary or a class coordinator, or you know, somebody who's real good at generating social. Outside of that, people are willing to serve. You know what I mean? I'm perfectly willing to bring food, but I don't want to be on the food committee. You know what I mean? So you need a spokesperson, somebody to kind of good at organizing. You need a treasurer because somebody's got to keep track of the money, and you need somebody to be kind of the social secretary or the secretary. You don't need to have a banner chair and a blah 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 blah. This club, this 30-person club, they had 15. I'm not exaggerating, board positions.
Half the club's on the board.
Well, exactly. So, but we're a board run. But I'm not afraid to speak my mind. So we're a board run. What'd you say?
I said, imagine you're not.
And I abide by, I don't run the meetings, you know, I'm not that type of a person. The board has, you know, we have annual meetings, but I will speak my mind. If they ask me an opinion, I'm not afraid to say, you know, you might want to think about this.
Thank you, Mike. Mike was first.
In regards to what you were saying, I handled like a spreadsheet, and we found that if somebody volunteered for like the anniversaries and birthdays, then I knew somebody would be bringing a cake for that particular time. And I just reminded them the month before, it says, you know, so-and-so is going to have an anniversary or birthday. You may already be doing it, but that it worked. Yeah, that way I go in, I ask people, would they do that? And yeah, I'll do that, and we got that covered. And so that worked. And then in regards to, where'd he go?
He left our club.
He left. One of the classes earlier today was embracing unity, and that covered a lot of what his concern was. I believe his name's Scott. And that's on the CD, so you covered a lot that was covered this morning. So embracing unity, because there is a lot of that going on, because we deal with people. Guess what? You're going to deal with personalities and emotions. And by the way, Michael sat in with Andrew Turler, sorry.
Well, you know, the reality is today's world is very electronic. You know, it sounds strange, but I know you all do it, socialize by Facebook, so I keep in touch with people. I FaceTime my granddaughter. We don't even talk on the phone anymore. I have business meetings via Skype, and we're very much disconnected. And when we started our club, we wanted to be someplace where people could come and have human contact. In order to do that, we have to embrace that whole diversity. We have somebody that's got a dog that senses when she has heart issues, and she doesn't dance very well, but she loves coming to our club. And if she's in a square, I know I'm not teaching anything that square, but that's okay. You know, you have home, well, you know, because I don't know who she knows, like my single woman.
Okay, my name is Aaron Goodman. I'm from Mississauga, Canada. I'd like to just compare what we had in square dancing 15, 20 years ago, where we all had large clubs, 10 squares, and the club was run by an executive because of the size of the club, with caller input. It was still a caller-run club, but executives looked after it. Food was brought in by certain people, and because of the large crowd, you didn't have to worry about the social aspect they mingled. Well, I went on a sabbatical for 8 years, and I got back into college 3 years ago. So the whole philosophy of what you had dancing changed at that time, because now we're running, gee, if we got 2 to 3 squares, we're running a large club. So the philosophy of how you run that, to me, changes. One, it's a caller-run club because it's a much smaller group, with a committee to help you. So as an example, in our club, I'm the president of the club. The lady who helps me run the club is the treasurer. Okay, and we look around the group because it's 2.5 squares, and we take 1 or 2 people to put them on the quote committee. Who brings in the food? Gee, somebody starts bringing in, and everybody wants to bring in their samples beyond that. Okay, what we're looking at right now is to add going out to a restaurant after square dancing to get the more sociability, because in today's classes, you better start looking at the sociability of all the people in your group, that they become friendly with each other, and this is how you'll make your club much, much bigger.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
We have one local club that I'm involved in. Every night after class, we went to one particular restaurant. And, you know, let's face it, square dances are difficult in large groups when you go out to a restaurant. You're ordering coffee.
Times 12.
Times 12. Some order meals, some don't. Anyway, so we would go to this particular restaurant all the time. And we had one waiter that volunteered to wait on us. You know, he was just the sweetest guy. He knew people's names. Where's Scott? Did he not come tonight? He guessed what our theme was. You know, he really participated. Well, he got married and was having a baby. Before he left, we threw him a bridal shower. Oh. We showed up.
Same kind of thing.
We showed up at the restaurant. We had gifts for his new baby. He was, you know that if he ever gets a chance in his adult life,
He's going to square it.
he's going to square dance.
Jack Snyder, Cary, North Carolina. Would you have anything that you would comment as far as nonprofit organization, a caller versus a board organization?
Yikes.
I think that we're nonprofit. We're a kind of a volunteer organization. I think that in North Carolina, I think the NC Federation has, you know, information about that, and USDA, I think, has information about that. I think that it's good to be, I think if it's a call-or-run thing, I don't think you can be nonprofit. Because even though we all know the reality is, it's nonprofit. But because it's what you do for a business, it's an extension of your business, I don't think a call-or-run organization could be nonprofit. But I think that a board-run could be a nonprofit. I know lots of square dance clubs that are either in umbrellas with their state or some regional organization that are nonprofit. If you're starting a club and you have questions like that, kind of the legality, financial stuff, talk to somebody who's a financial person. We have somebody in our club, that's what he does. He's a tax guy. And if I had questions, the club had questions, they went to him and he was happy to answer and point in the right direction.
Sue White again from Arkansas. When we lived in New York State, the clubs got passed sales tax by being education oriented, and that meant that at your club dance you had to have some kind of instruction. So most dances, second tip was workshop tip. I think that's a good idea anyway, regardless of the structure of the club. But that's how that worked in New York State. I don't know how it works in other states.
I wish I could call what I do nonprofit. Scott?
Oh, now he shows up.
Thanks. Scott Brown from Pittsburgh. I have a question. When you start a new club, and we've started several in the past year, the established dance community, for instance, in our area, they have a Western Pennsylvania Federation. They are very embedded and very set in their ways. And how do you deal with them wanting to recognize your dancers or associate with your dancers? Some of them don't even want to tell their dancers that we have a club because they don't want them coming down there or dancing with us. How do you address those issues when you're dealing with these local groups like that?
Well, for me, Scott says I'm nice, but I'm actually not nice. I'm kind of shrewd at times. But I made sure when we were starting this club that we were not directly competing, or what could be perceived as competing, with the clubs in the area. I make sure, and I know that nobody is because every group is different. I make sure that that we let people know we're there, try and be welcoming. Not a lot of people come down to our club because they think it's far away, and it's actually not. We're just kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And I don't mind that because my dancers, honestly, my dancers aren't travelers. It's a small community. They don't want to go anywhere but Tuesday night. There are some that will go out and get around. It's kind of a delicate balance because I know that square dance clubs can get very territorial, especially if you're trying to do something new. There's a school of thought that you just do what you do and you just don't make a big deal. See, my husband worries about that, but I don't care that there are people that won't come to my club because I'm going to do what I think is right for the people who've been put in my path, and eventually, maybe we'll have a 10 square dance eventually if people come down. We make sure we advertise. We make sure that we're in the Metrolina email thing. Our club's there. We make sure all that. We cross all the T's. We show up. We participate in hospice. We have a hospice charity in North Carolina. We deliberately don't be argumentative, and we're not belligerent. We try very hard to practice. That's what I say. We're trying to model good behavior. Somebody comes to my club, it doesn't matter if you're from a club and I think you're going to be stealing my dancers away. That's not my first thought. My first thought is, hey, thanks for coming. Come and hang out with us. Now that being said, I know that there are clubs that have a problem with new groups that spring up. And my observation has been most of the problem has been because the new groups have tried to poach dancers off the old groups. And that's just annoying. Even for somebody who's nice, that's annoying.
That was the tongue-in-cheek stealing.
Yeah, I know, but it's true. Hey, Mike, hey, Scott, I'm starting a new group down in Waxhaw. Don't tell anybody, but I really want you to come dance with me. I have heard people say that to people. And it's like plus dancers that come to your basic class and they say, hey, when you're done learning this stuff, I have some really fun stuff for you to do. Come to my club. Which I don't think is right.
And they cherry pick them. They don't.
They cherry pick
them.
them. They cherry pick them. You know, but it's all about, I think it's about doing the right thing. And it's about being respectful. And I may not agree with, if we're in the same area, I don't particularly like what you're doing. I'm not going to disparage you because if you get dancers in your door and I get dancers in my door, eventually the two are going to connect and they'll be cross-visiting, but you're doing something to get dancers in the door at the end of the day. But that's just how I am. But we as callers have to kind of model that good behavior, I think. Anybody else? What program do I use? The CALLERLAB program. I teach, well, no, I really do use the CALLERLAB program.
Mainstream?
We do Mainstream Plus, but I teach kind of all position and I teach by definition, which is different in our area, because I don't want my dancers to be handicapped when they go to visit. If they go to anybody in here's club, I want them to be able to dance. And I try not to train them so that they can only dance to me. We graduate them at mainstream-ish. You know, sometimes the club pushes that graduation date, and I'm okay with that because I know my dancers are going to stick around and I can keep teaching them. And I will not allow them to dance plus. We have a really good plus class this time, but I very much discourage until they're comfortable and they can do runs, trades, and circulates, and they don't flinch. Well, that's just what I believe. And we provide, like I said, we provide dancing experiences for the new dancers. So our new dancers are actually dancing with the club on club night. You know, they don't have to sit and wait until they graduate, whatever the level is. But we do mainstream and yeah. Thanks, Bubba. I'm happy to sit.
It's an exercise.
I like that name, Bubba. Bubba Scott made a comment earlier about dance location and parking and all that, which just came to mind again for some reason. My primary location for dances holds, if everybody dances in the area that they're supposed to dance in, holds 4 squares, if you know, tightly. When we have special dances, we move to a different location that holds about 8 squares, which we have not had a problem with. However, the parking, let me get the right word, stinks. It's a big church, circle going around it, and the parking is on the other side of a set of historic houses back in a parking lot that you have to go through another set of parking lots to get to, and nobody knows how to find it. However, for these special dances, the people don't like doing that. It is where I would love to have all my dances, but because of the location of parking, I can't do that. So I just wanted to bring that up again to re-emphasize that when you're looking at a place to dance, the price might be excellent, which this one is. It is $25 a night, or all day if I want the place all day, and it's a beautiful dance floor, everything's great. But the parking is just not appropriate for it. So that's just one on it.
I was going to say another thing, and I remember about the floor. I mentioned like carpeting. Could you imagine if there was a slant in the floor? I know you've been in a hall before where it had a mild little slant. All the squares started in the back and ended up over here, and they're all ganged up in one spot. So you have to kind of do that. But it's crazy. So look for things like that.
I'm Sandy Driscoll from Minnesota, and I'm a little confused. I know I keep hearing you say, my dancers, my dancers, my dancers. Well, my husband teaches, but we encourage our dancers towards adolescence. All the clubs in our Twin City area have new dancer dances. We encourage them to go out to other dances. We encourage other people to come to our dances. We don't call them my dancers. There are club dancers, but we don't call them my dancers or anything. And I just wondered, do you encourage your dancers to visit other clubs, or do you want other clubs to visit?
Oh, I'll tell you, we are out and about, and people know we're there, and every week we tell our dancers, sorry, they're my family. We tell my family where the dances are, and we'll bring you, and we'd love to, go, and when we're out and about, we talk about where we are, and we advertise. We're definitely not an exclusive. I think that, maybe I shouldn't call them my dancers, but they're my family. And all the dancers in our area, but they have a special place. And we try to throw them out into the world.
Because I think that makes a better dancer is if they hear other callers. We don't want them to hear just one voice, we want them to hear it all.
Correct, that's absolutely correct.
And I know we have a caller run club too, and we did it just because people are bringing out being officers. So we started our own club, we do all the work, we bring in the stuff, we have potluck, we call it potluck, everybody brings more food than we need. And we found out that at the end of the dance, everybody stays and helps clean up. So, the officers are nice, but we're doing this for the people because, people have been dancing 20, 30 years, they're tired of doing this, and I've done that and been there and done that. So, it's nice to have a caller-run club, but the people are the best because they know they're not responsible. And they like to help you if they're not responsible.
And they will help.
They will.
Where are you from, Minnesota?
Minnesota.
I got the air conditioning going. Mountain control. I'll take it.
Scott Brown from Pittsburgh again. The reason I asked that question is we have visitors come to our club, and a lot of times it's geographically isolated in a lot of ways. For the same way yours is, a lot of people think it's too far to go or whatever. But we do have people who visit our club regularly now from other clubs, and they come there and they have a really good time and enjoy it. And we encourage them to come back. We thank them for coming out. We really appreciate when they come. But our way of getting around this was we do not offer club membership to our clubs. All right, unlike every other club in the area. The only way, we have, they're all color-run clubs, but our dancers will come through, they get a badge, for instance, when they reach Main Street, okay? But you can't just join our club. There's no way to do that. We don't have dues, and we don't offer a club membership structure. So if somebody came from another club, they wouldn't be able to say, hey, we want to go down and dance there and join that club. They don't have that option. That's our way of getting around it. But I know there is this mindset that I've seen recently. For instance, there's a club locally who refuses to graduate their dancers. Their dancers are through the Plus program. They even come down and dance at our club periodically. But they won't graduate them because they're afraid if they graduate them, they'll go to other clubs. That's the kind of mindset that some of these people are in. I don't understand it. I don't know what to do. Do we encourage them to come back? Do we tell them not to come? What do we do?
You just be nice to them and invite them to come dance at your club, and you don't worry about what somebody else is doing.
That's what we did.
It's like you start your own club. You don't worry about what other people are doing, but the dancers respond and they help and they bring food and they, I think sometimes we think our dancers are stupid, but they vote with their feet. They'll go, if I have a Thursday night available and I'm not doing anything and I want to go out, I can tell you, I look very carefully at who's calling where and what club is dancing. And I choose where to go, where I'm gonna be welcome and where I, you know, for example, I know that I don't have to bring food, but if I want to, I can, and I can set up some chairs if I'm there early, because I'll help. But I'm not gonna go someplace where if I walk in the door, I get yelled at because, where I just don't want you there. I don't even acknowledge a guest that comes in. Man, guest comes in our door, you are family, and you are talked to, and you wish that people would leave you alone.
Dennis Clark, Indiana again. There's been a couple of comments about membership, and I had made a comment earlier about the members that belong to my club. And I just want to clarify something. When I started it, I wasn't going to have members of the club. Those who wanted to be a part of the club, I was going to give them badges. But because of the Dancers Association, in order for me to advertise with the Dancers Association in Indiana, I had to have the people, in order for me to be a part of the Dancers Association, I had to have a roster of club members. So the way I did it was the membership dues with the fee that they paid to come in the door. By the end of the year, their balance is 0 on membership dues. So it all balances out.
What do you think, Patty?
Any final thoughts? Any final questions? Any way we can help you? I do call my dancers, but it's not in a possessive, stay away from them. But I do, as a caller, it's like I've given birth to these people and I watch them learn how to dance and go out into the world, and go to national convention, and fly and be free. It's like having children all over again.
This is Sue White again from Arkansas. I just take another minute. Colin Gordon and I started a club in Hot Springs, Arkansas about 7 or 8 years ago. Another club spawned off from our club, and there really aren't enough dancers to recruit. So we're hoping to move our club to closer to us. We live in Hot Springs Village. Hot Springs Village essentially is a retirement community. There are about 175 clubs that the residents could join. I was coming to this seminar hoping to be able to find out a little bit more about going into a place like that and starting up a club. How do you get out there and find the new dancers? And I know all about trying to find a venue. We're still working on that.
There's a local club in our area that dances at Sun City, which is a pretty big retirement community. And I know the first time I went, I laughed at all of the white notebooks in the community house with all the different clubs that people could be a part of. And they advertise, they hold their dances sometime in the summer they hold it in the pavilion where people walking by can see it. They also have it in the ballroom, which is their community center, which everybody goes to, and down in the aerobics room. So they're pretty visible. And I don't know how exactly they started up, but I think they did some fun nights. So they had in community, when it started, outsiders, talk about us and them, outsiders couldn't come into the community. They had to fight to allow square dancers to actually come into the community that didn't live there. But they did fun nights. So they would have a fall festival and have no experience necessary square dancing and maybe an ice cream social. And they had it once a quarter, which you know, eventually you get somebody, and if somebody was interested, they took their name, and I guess at one point in time, they had enough people to justify getting a caller in, they had a square, and that's how they've been growing, and they struggle. But for them, it's more about visibility, because there's so much going on there. Like, I'm sure, it sounds like you have just as much that people can pick from. But they started with a lot of fun nights. What?
Visible fun.
Very visible, right smack dab in the middle of the hub of the whole place. At times when there was activity and when the exercise center was open and when the office was open and when the restaurants were open, not at 9 o'clock at night when there was no activity going on. Because they're a retirement community, you can have it at any time. But you know, find that visibility outside. They dance out on the pavilion. I've called out on the pavilion and had the tennis people, because there's a tennis court right next door, stop by and just watch what we were doing. You don't know who's going to get that kind of a bug.
Ready?
Ready?
So where are we going to dance now? Oh, well, that was a different show.
That's a different show. Thank you for coming. Have a good last session. We'll see you at dinner. Bring your appetite. Good luck.
You guys were
See you later.